You either die the hero, or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. The problem with comic book characters is that as long as they make money, they'll never have a conclusive ending. No matter what development they get, the status quo is always going to come round again. Peter Parker, he'll always eventually be back at the Daily Bugle, taking photos so he can help his Aunt May pay the bills, because that is what the general public expects him to be doing. Being such a lucrative franchise, Spider-Man stories are going to outlive all of us. This is why stories like Sins Past, One More Day, and this Zeb Wells stuff are allowed to happen, because eventually Marvel's going to exhaust every avenue of storytelling, and they'd be forced to use stories like this anyway. So if they hadn't happened already, they would in the future, be it next year, next decade, or next century. So really the question we should be asking is, when should we stop reading Spider-Man? Now there's a few different schools of thought on this, so I'm going to do you a favour and I'm going to assess 3 issues, where they stand in the grand scheme of things, and how good these issues fit as an overall ending to Spidey's adventures. And away we go. If this be my destiny. First, mate, we have an absolutely classic tale. The main draw of this issue, being an ending to Spidey's story, is that this is the issue he makes up for his greatest mistake. In saving the life of his dear Aunt May, he finally atones for getting Uncle Ben killed. And I do mean, on the cover literally says final chapter right there, so what else do you want? Aunt May, to no one's surprise, is sick. Only this time she's sick because a stupid nephew thought it would be a good idea to transfer her some of his blood. Some of his radioactive spider blood. I thought this man was a scientist. So she's sick, and the only thing that can make her better is this special serum that was sadly stolen by the tentacled terror of Doctor Octopus. So Spidey last issue tore up the town tracking down this master planning madman, only to be left trapped in his flooding, collapsing base, crushed underneath tons of steel with only his regrets to keep him company. Just as Spider-Man's ready to give up, too exhausted, he spots the serum. It's right there, there's hope again, and Pete refuses to let the past repeat itself. This time, he won't let a loved one down. Read this part here, it's boss. Anyone can win a fight when the odds are easy. It's when the going gets tough when it counts. And this man's had it tough for a long time, but he's still not gonna let life get him again. Time's running out, Spidey. Death looms over our hero. But Aunt May's the closest thing Peter has to a mum, and she needs him. With great power comes great responsibility, but the inverse must also be true, because despite the weight of this great responsibility, Peter has the power. With the serum in sticky hands, Spidey makes his escape as the base is destroyed by the water, but the webhead's troubles don't end there, as a platoon of Doc Ock's goons show up to finish him off. The man is battered, broken, and half-drowned, but Spider-Man battles on. He refuses to stop because he knows all too well what happens when he refuses to act. Spidey just keeps swinging, dropping some important life lessons as he limps through the master planner's goons. Peter is so enthralled by his duty to Aunt May, he doesn't even realise he's already won. He scrambles to Dr. Connors, who can process this isotope into a usable serum, and Spidey finally gets the cure to May. All Pete can do is wait to see if it was all for nothing, so he drops in on Double J. And here we see, it's not just as Spider-Man that Peter's grown, he holds his own against Jonah, demanding a reasonable price for his photographs. Back at the hospital, an absolutely shattered Peter's fears are put to rest as May finally regains consciousness. While Peter once failed to save his uncle, here he succeeds in saving his aunt. He's learned his lesson about power and responsibility, and he's become a hero in his own eyes. As an endpoint, the original sin of Peter from his very first appearance has been made up for. I mean, sure, Doctor Octopus is still out there, but there's always going to be a crisis. But fortunately, there'll also always be a Spider-Man. I've heard this one suggested on the internet a few times, but honestly I don't really see it fitting as well as the others. Maybe it's suggested because it's a good solid number. Maybe it's because at this point we've seen most of his best stories and he's conquered most of his best villains, but let's have a look anyway. Spidey has tailed this master thief, the Black Fox, not to be confused with the Black Cat, to a meeting with Doctor Doom, the evil emperor of Latveria. Black Fox has stolen a gem belonging to Doom's mother, but the foolish fox has already sold the gem on, so the menacing monarch will have his head instead. It would have been so easy for Spidey to just leave. I mean, Black Fox is just a crook, he's a nobody, but then again, Peter knows what happens when he doesn't act. He's got to use his powers for others before himself, so Spider-Man gets his ass kicked, but he knows in his heart what he did was right. Doctor Doom is like the premier Marvel bad guy. He's like the final boss of the whole universe. And there's lonely science nerd Peter Parker facing him down. Again though, Spidey refuses to surrender. Anyone can win a fight when the odds are easy. It's when the going gets tough that it counts. And bloody hell did it get tough here. Spider-Man only survives by appealing to Doom, offering to make amends. Now Spidey needs to find the Fox and reclaim Doom's gem, or else. While the Fox threats, Pete considers his position. This isn't the first time he's went easy on Black Fox, but as he wanders the city, pondering why, he's shocked to bump into Uncle Ben. After a flashback to a story everyone knows by now, the ghost of Peter's past theorizes he goes light on the Fox, because he reminds Peter of Ben, so Ben tells him, get over it. And Peter agrees just in time to collapse from his injuries. Injured or not though, Peter has to honour Ben's memory and bring the Fox to justice despite his wife's wishes. He's tracked the Fox down, and the Fox has tracked Doom's gem. Some cult are going to use the gem to summon some cosmic insect swarm, but they're going to be heartbroken because Spidey turns up. Love how he's drawn here. Spidey and the Fox team up to stop the cult, and just as it starts getting serious, Doctor Doom makes a house call. Victory goes to, well, not the heroes, hero singular, yeah, the protagonists, that'll do. And with Doom sated, Spider-Man finally treats Black Fox as he deserves to be treated, like a criminal. Okay, after reading this one, I think it's so often suggested because it shows how far Spider-Man's come as a hero. The boy who was struggling against the chameleon, the vulture and that, is now a man, holding his own against Doctor Doom, the top villain in the land. Maybe we don't need some final thematic battle against some goblin or Sinister Six for Spider-Man, especially for a character as relatable as Peter. Maybe the best final victory for him is like a small personal one, like finally forgiving himself for his uncle's death. Small aside here, look at the sick posters this issue comes with. Incredible. Why don't they draw comics like this anymore? This issue is the culmination of hundreds of life or death battles in Peter's life. From the Amazing Spider-Man 14, when he first battled the original Green Goblin, Norman Osborn, all the way to now, where he has his final battle with Harry. Once best friends, now worst enemies. Not only is this a monumental moment in Peter's life, it's also a pretty bloody good issue. It looks like Harry's been reading from his dad's playbook as he swoops down upon one of Spider-Man's loved ones. Peter, meanwhile, is terrified that the worst night of his life is about to repeat itself, and he's going mad with worry. Great minds think alike, because Harry also has Gwen's death on the brain, and that's exactly where he takes Mary Jane. MJ tells him she's not afraid to die, and Harry looks hurt. He didn't bring her here to kill her, he brought her here so she'd understand why he has to kill Peter Parker. Even after all this time, whether from a psychosis or just denial, Harry still thinks his dad was innocent. But he promises that no matter what, this is between the Green Goblin and Spider-Man. Spidey returns home and finally finds his wife, in the grasp of the Goblin. MJ talks him down, but you can sense a showdown is coming. Mary Jane's desperate for the two to make peace, but that ship sailed long ago. Even after being dead for so long, Norman's still terrorising Peter, and the fear is setting in. He can't go to the police without compromising his identity. He can't confront Harry on his own terms without endangering MJ, Harry's wife Liz, or their son Normie. Spidey can only wait, caught in the Goblin's web. And the Green Goblin likes to play with his food. He makes sure to let Pete know he isn't safe anywhere. The Goblin can strike at any time and there's nothing Spidey can do about it. Gobby even haunts Peter at work, where he spooks J. Jonah and threatens to reveal Pete's identity if he doesn't play along. Wherever Peter goes, Harry follows, and it's a game of hide and seek that Spider-Man quickly gets sick of. Parker's dealt with bullies before, so he knows you've got to face them dead on. But it's not easy this time. This isn't Flash Thompson showing off for the girls. Peter makes any move against Harry, the world finds out his secret. Classic Osborn. But despite all he's said, it seems Harry knows his dad wasn't perfect. Could the spell of Norman Osborn be broken yet? Peter decides, enough is enough. No matter what Harry once meant to him, he's gotta be stopped. Mary Jane tries once again to beg Harry to call it off. They can be friends again, they can forget all this ever happened. But Harry just can't. Too much blood's been spilled for him to walk away now. It's too late. And to bring truth to Harry's words, Spider-Man arrives. The final battle between the two best friends begins. Peter tries to get through to Harry one final time, but it's all for nothing. Harry manages to prick Spidey with a chemical to take him down long enough for the kill and blow. And I do mean blow. He's rigged the whole building to explode, killing both of the buddies together. But Harry's been acting a little bit too much like his dad. Harry had told Norman he wouldn't forget his family, and that's exactly what he's done, because his child and Mary Jane are both also in the building that he's rigged to blow. With Spidey barely able to move, it's up to Harry to save him. Stepping out of his dad's shadow, he finally accepts the responsibility that comes with his actions. He gets the innocent to safety. Now the only one who'll die in the blast is Spider-Man. But Harry finally defeats the ghost of Norman, choosing to deny his legacy and rescue Peter from certain death. He knows now his dad was wrong. Peter was a hero, but more importantly, he was his friend. The Goblin formula wreaks havoc on Harry's body. He doesn't have long, and in the ambulance, held by his best friend, Harry Osborn dies. A great story and a great ending to the feud between Peter and the Osborn family. The Green Goblin is Spider-Man's most personal villain, so where better to end the story than that villain's final defeat? And isn't it just so Spider-Man to end on such a bittersweet victory? Decades of story conclude in this issue. Callbacks to moments in Spidey's life, like the death of Gwen, his college years, and some of his past battles with goblins, bring it all full circle. Peter's life has kind of been defined by being strong despite tragedy, so to finish it here I think highlights that perfectly. And as a cheeky bonus, if you do stop reading here, you don't have to read Maximum Carnage, the robot parent crap, or any Dan Slott. Better to go out on a high note.